Grab your big book, your pen, your highlighter, and notepad and get ready to hear and apply some of the solution from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous through the experience, strength, and hope of Nikki M. To have a question addressed in a future episode of Noodle It Out with Nikki, please send an email to noodlewithnikki@gmail.com, and Nikki is spelled with 2 Ks. To get a more interactive experience with Nikki as she noodles out life and recovery questions using the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous, you can get a link to her weekly Noodle It Out with Nikki meeting held live on Zoom every Monday morning at 9 o'clock Eastern Time. The information to that meeting is in the show notes of this podcast. God morning, God afternoon, and God evening to all. My name is Justin B., and I am a son of an all-powerful and all-loving God and a qualifying addict of multiple fellowships, living in the miracle of recovery, and I'm here with the intelligent agent, spearhead of God's ever-advancing creation, and my co-host, Nikki M. Nikki, please take a minute and introduce yourself.
Well, I'm just so grateful to be here. Hi, I'm Nikki M., and I'm a grateful member of this beautiful fellowship, and I'm also an intelligent agent spearhead of God's ever-advancing creation. And the book says it's rather vain of me to think otherwise. And what does vain mean? Well, it's not helpful. It's not helpful. It's not useful for me to think otherwise. It's producing no results. It's having or showing an excessive high opinion of my worth, meaning I'm not good enough. That's an excessive high opinion of my worth, when in reality, I'm an intelligent agent spearhead. I'm just so grateful to know that truth, Justin.
Love it. And I love how when you share that and as you discuss that, I don't gather a sense of superiority. It's a mission, it's a calling, it's who you are, and not, it doesn't make you better than anybody else. How do you keep that level in your thoughts as you talk about that?
Well, because I can differentiate between the true and the false now. And the great reality is that God is deep down inside of me. My book on page 417, Justin, says, when I complain about you or I complain about me, I'm complaining about God's handiwork. See, I'm God's handiwork. Think about that one. That's cool. And if you see where religious people are right, we have a podcast on that, you and I, Justin, we've done a talk on that. Some religions say I'm created in God's perfect image, that I'm actually hand woven in the stomach of my mother, just waiting to do God's work. And it's a real powerful thought to think that I'm laser designed by the creator of the universe with purpose. I have a friend, she likes to say, I'm anointed. And it's like, yeah, we all have gifts. I'm anointed. I've been chosen. Isn't it? Isn't that what happens? Anointed. What does that mean? It means I have God's power and presence on me. And page 163 says I've tapped a source of power. So yeah, that's who I am.
Love it. Thank you for sharing that, Nikki. Now let's jump into a little bit about RICO 12 is and what this project is, and we'll get into a question that we've got here for you here in a minute. So RICO 12 is a family of recovery resources. Most of those right now are podcasts. We've got the RICO 12 Speaker Meeting Podcast, which is our flagship program. We've got RICO 12 Shares, a shares-only recording that anybody can participate in. And we've got our Big Book Roundtable that Nikki and I, as well as David G, are working through the Big Book page by page, and I'm loving it. It's awesome. And we've got this Noodle It Out with Nikki podcast that we release every week. And man, as I'm going through this and deep diving in the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous in this Noodle It Out with Nikki podcast, I'm just gaining a whole lot of things. And what we do in this podcast is we bring a question or two from our own lives, from the lives of people we work with in recovery, and from the listening audience to the Big Book, as Nikki goes through the Big Book and just deep dives into a whole lot of solution there. So everybody out there, get your Big Book ready and get ready to run around and make some notes. I've got some questions here that we'll address. And this question that I have here, we're going to go a little bit heavy, but the reality of addiction is that it's heavy. It can be really heavy. All right, here it is. Nikki, I feel trapped. I want to die. I've been in and out of the rooms for years, and I can't live like this, and I don't know what to do. I'm too scared to kill myself. Help. Nikki, help. What do you think?
Well, page 1112. Let's just start there, just so we can get into it. Because you said, what do I think? Well, I think big book. It's become a working part of my mind. So page 112 says, read this book, or at least the chapter on alcoholism. So I've read this book and the chapter on alcoholism. Why do I start there, Justin? Because I'm armed with the facts. Page 18. I'm armed with the facts about the disease of alcoholism. And I know what this person's going through because I was there. Driven, page 62. This is what drives me. I'm driven by 100 forms of fear. I mean, just think about that one. No wonder, I want to die. I'm so scared. I'm driven by self-delusion. Remember, I was just talking that we're spearheads. Well, when I'm not tapped into this power, I'm in 100 forms of self-delusion. I'm no good. I should die. Nothing matters. Why me? Pour me another drink, pour me another thought, pour me another loaf of bread with lots of butter, which I indulged in last night. It's so cunning and baffling, alcoholism. Self-seeking, 100 forms of I want what I want. No one's giving it to me. And the big one, self-pity. I mean, I live, as everyone knows, my mother lives in my house with me. I suffer the disease of alcoholism. Her husband, for 25 years, took a pistol and did the unthinkable in front of her while she was making breakfast. It's like, it gets really awful in the disease of alcoholism. So you're trapped, want to die, can't live with or without it. Page 152, Justin. And those listening, I mean, you can listen and you can just go back and muck this up in your big book and make it personal stories. It's like, it says, he fools him. I'll just talk from Nikki's point of view. She fools herself inwardly. Nikki would give anything to take a half a dozen thoughts. I like to always think with the thoughts, because the thought leads me to the drink, to the drug of choice, of non-choice. We've lost the power of choice. To the act. Take half dozen acts. My big thing lately is like, I got home just recently. It's like, I'll just look real quick at social media or scroll, because I don't have my phone when I'm in Luxembourg. That's part of my commitment, is to only go on for Noodle and to a little bit of service on Mondays. Other than that, I'm serving my boyfriend without the internet. And that's the dry drunk, right? I'm in so-driety. And then I want to get away with it. I want to score. I want to get it and no one know what I'm doing. Isn't that what we do in our disease? Nikki will presently try the old games again. See, right now I need to hear this, Justin. This is helping me. I came home, got off the plane, and I'm starting my old games again. I started, eating foods I shouldn't eat right when I got home. Well, I've been a good girl. I've been disciplined for the month. I've been away. I've been blah, blah, blah. No, excuses. The big book of excuses and lies, or the big book of serenity and peace. So I'll try to play the old game again, because I'm not happy about my sobriety, my sodriety, my new lifestyle. I can't picture life with or without. What is it, everybody out there? Is it with or without alcohol? With or without men? With or without validation? With or without my phone? Coffee, cigs, name it, put it there. Donuts, money. Someday, Nikki, or our friend who called in and wrote in, will be unable to imagine life with or without it. Then he will know loneliness. My line out says, I want to die, such as few do. Well, in 2023, if you're hearing this podcast and you're like, it's year 2030, this is year 2023. And, loneliness is, I want to die. It's pretty bad, people out there. We just come out of a pandemic. A lot of people have been isolated, lost jobs, you name it, lost whatever. And then we'll be at the jumping off place. Line out. I want to die. I will wish for the end. I want to die. So this question, it says in our book, we're talking to you about seemingly tragic news. Like this is what alcoholism is. This is what alcoholism is. And we'll wish for the end. I want to die. And that leads me to the dry drunk on page 52. Here's the book, 152. Roll back to page 52. Just noticing the magic in here. Because I'm having troubles with personal relationships. This is the spiritual malady, Justin. This is why you feel trapped. You want to die because this is only a spiritual, we're suffering an illness which only a spiritual solution will conquer, says the book. That's what the book says. So now we're here. We're having trouble with personal relationship. Can't control our emotional natures. We're prey to misery and depression, self-obsession. We can't make a living. Maybe we can make money, but we can't make a living. Feeling of uselessness, loneliness. We're full of fear, driven by, the 100 forms of fear. How are you going to get through the day if you don't have a solution? Because alcohol is not the solution. Acting out in any whatever form we're doing, Justin, that's not the solution. We're unhappy. We can't be of real help to anyone. Basically, the walking dead. And then I like to roll into page 428, and then we'll get back in here real quick. So I'm armed with the facts and help. What do? You work a 12-step program, but I want to arm the person. You're not the only one feeling this way. This is what we feel when we are untreated, when we're beyond human aid, when we haven't been rocked and launched into the fourth dimension, when we haven't entered the spirit world, because we haven't taken a sincere position. To what, Nikki? To turn all things over, page 14. Anyway, we're on page 428. It says, I reached a crossroads. I'm sober, or not sober, but here, sober, sobriety, about 6 months. How about 6 years? Some people are 6 decades, meeting makers, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, Tommy Boy killed himself. Of course he did. Didn't sponsor, didn't seek God, didn't take personal inventory, didn't make the amends, just work your step backwards. And you're not getting better. You're contemplating, there it is, the big, I want to die, suicide. Every day, my emotions swing between paralyzing despair, hopelessness, the despair of a drowning person, says page 28, and murderous rage, homicide, suicide. That's me. Because I'm taking everyone out. You don't love me anymore. You're dying. I'm like, hey, Fatal Attraction. I looked at my lover, Justin, and I said, if you had a bunny, I would have boiled that too. Because I only boiled a cell phone when I found him talking to other women. Murderous rage, often in the space of a single moment. True story. I'm a bad Friday night TV movie. I'm not happy. I'm not joyous or free. I'm miserable and I'm sick of it. Page 52, dry drunk. There. And then, so what do? Help, Nikki. You get a big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. 4th edition is what I work out of. You get a sponsor who's armed with the facts. You have the desperation of a drowning man. You follow a set of instructions as laid out in this Design for Living, the big book. You don't balk. Page 58, we beg of you to be fearless from the start. At some of these we balked, don't balk. If it's not in the book, don't do it. This is radical stuff because you're going to kill yourself. Like, I'm lucky my mom's alive. That's the reality of it too. That's what we do. I'm lucky. I mean, it takes 1 second for grandpa to turn the gun out and in. We see that all the time on, oh, he's crazy. No, he's maybe suffering the disease of alcohol addiction, love addiction, women, men. We lock them up in prison and just throw away the key when they have a spiritual malady that only, Justin, a spiritual solution will conquer. And I'm going to look for that page, but any thoughts on that, Justin?
Yeah, while you're looking for that page, I'm going to come back as the person who's in desperation here. But I've tried all that, Nikki. I've gotten a sponsor. I've worked the steps. I've been in the rooms. I've done the meetings. I've done that stuff. It just didn't take. It stopped working. I've tried all that. So what do you say to that?
I'm going to say we don't try. We do or do not. Have you really? Okay, let's go through it, Justin. Let's just role play. You sponsored. You've done everything. You've done everything. You've sponsored. I go to meetings. I've done service. Okay, Justin, you've done it all. You have a sponsor.
I had a sponsor. I had a sponsor once.
You have a home group. Yeah. Okay, there we go. So it says it says we abandon ourselves. Like, that's a key word. It doesn't say surrender. It says I abandon myself. It says every morning, because it says every day. That's what I think on page 85. 85, it's like, oh, here it is. It is. It says we have a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance. How do you maintain your spiritual condition? Because you're never cured. You improve your conscious contact. Did you seek God every day? I'm going to say no, you didn't, because I'm telling you, this works. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all. You just stayed sober. You didn't improve conscious contact. You didn't seek God. You didn't really, in all your activities, was that your family, or was that just to the newcomer? Because you just, did you really do a family? Did you do it at your job? Because you have to be fully self-supporting. Did you really practice these principles in all your affairs? Did you have these thoughts, which must go with you constantly, which means you don't get a day off? This is not for the faint of heart. This is simple, but not easy. Hey, I bet this, Justin, or John Doe, Jane Doe, here it is. I bet you didn't smash the idea that you're like other people every day. I bet I can almost say that you didn't turn all things. The price must be paid. The destruction of self. I mean, I could go real deep with that.
Yeah, I mean, and where you're going really hits at the core of the issue, Nikki. And it's very easy for me, and I'm going to use some big book language. It's easy to let up on this program of action and rest on our laurels. Hey, I feel the happy, joyous, and free. I've got the solution, and now I'm gonna say I got it, and I'm not gonna worry about being reborn today, about dying to self today. I'm going to be, hey, it happened. I'm good. And then, after a week, a month, a year, a day, whatever it may be, all of a sudden I'm back to insanity again.
Because you're in the grip of a progressive illness. We get worse, never better. You cannot differentiate the true from the false as the doctor's opinion. So we had a friend on Noodle today, Justin, and they were sharing a miracle. 11 years. I've been in the room 11 years. And what happened? She took a drink. She went out. And she was out for 15 years. And by the grace of God, she got pulled back in. And she was giving her testimony. She was witnessing. She was sharing this experience on page 29 with us. This is what she was doing, because she had a year sober now. She said, "Oh, I got a husband." And I laugh. The sex and love addict in me is like, "Oh yeah, how'd that work out?" She just drifted. She was going, it's just pulled away. I worked it backwards. I said, "So tell me, new friend, what happened? Let me just go through it with you. You stopped sponsoring. Now let's go deeper. You didn't do prayer and meditation. And then you didn't take a continuous inventory of yourself every day. And then you didn't make your amends, which is step 9, work it backwards. Step 8, you don't have a list anymore because you've got this. Step 6, step 7, you didn't get humble and ask your creator daily, every moment. Step 6, the willingness isn't there. Step 5, who are you admitting to anybody? You got this. 4, moral inventory. You start playing God again because you don't make your daily decision to abandon yourself. And step 2, you don't believe in a power because you became the power again. Remember, you got a little bit, get the toys back. Oh, you got a husband now and things are fine in the grip of a progressive illness, alcoholic. I mean, this is real. So this person told us in her page 29, each individual in your personal story you describe in your own language. And I like to put line out, my big book speak, my big book language from my own point of view, the way Nikki established her relationship with God. So if you're not establishing a relationship with God, because I found it says right here, it's like, unless this person, this is an XXVII, unless this person who wants to die, who wrote in, because they said the word was, I'm trapped, I want to die. So unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, I Googled psychic, Justin. Psychic is not me telling the future with a crystal ball. Psychic is a mind and a soul change. See, page 23 says this centers in my mind, not in the bottle, not in my mind, in my thoughts. I need a psychic mind soul change, or there is very little hope of my recovery. Why? Because I blot out the consciousness of my intolerable situation as best I can. That's what I do with it, with not just, we always say a whack-a-mole, I think you identify yourself as a multi-purpose disciplined addict or something like that. So, and it says we did this because we honestly want to and willing to make an effort. which is the effort is work and self-sacrifice on page 15. Self-sacrifice, people. Step 6, I got to be willing to stop doing the things I want to do. Step 6, action. Stop doing the things I want to do. Step 7, I got to get humble and start doing the things I don't want to do.
Love it. Love it. Nikki, this has been really good. And I think I'm just going to close this out with a phrase that we reviewed through this that I think is really important for me to remember. And I invite you, the listening audience out there, to remember that each day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will into all of our activities. Each day. Make today one of those each days. Work it. You are worth it.